wonderful thing that they say, that it's like your immune system is like an army. And I don't really always agree to that. Because I'll tell you all the reasons why, but to me, an immune system is more like a well-operating police system. Because if you have an army, it's usually, or it usually says there's a war going on, and a war between countries or between whatever. But this is more like intel inside of your body that's trying to pick up anything that's trying to destroy everything that's working well. And in a lot of cases, it's your own body that's doing that. And if you have an army, it's about more the invasion than really your own. But a police force looks out for your own citizens turning bad. And that's where cancer comes in. It's the very own citizens of your body, your own little cells, that is causing huge damage to yourself. Now, if we look at our immune systems, these are the main guys in our immune system. We have our monocytes, our eosinophils, our basophils, the lymphocytes, especially this little yellow one is the one that fights our cancer, and the neutrophils. It causes a lot of trouble while we're on chemo. And I'll go into each one of them, but your immune system is the white blood cells of your body. So let's look at our neutrophils and our monocytes first. These are our main guys. Anything that enters our body, they run and they literally engulf it. They eat whatever comes in, whether it's a virus, whether it's anything that's small enough for them to eat, they eat. Then they have a little stomach there. It's called, of course, it's usually a name, but it's okay. And inside they digest it, and then it's potty time. Whatever's left, we can say they poop it out, and the virus is gone, the infection is gone, whatever you had is gone. Our eosinophils is a little bit different. They have a look at all parasites. We find them in all the mucous membranes in our bodies, in your mouth, in your nose, in the lining of your stomach, in the lining of your bladder. And they look after all the bigger creepy crawlies that can't be ingested by our basophils and our monocytes, because what they literally do is they lodge onto them and they start dissolving them from the outside in. So they keep us free from tapeworms and roundworms and hookworms. The basophils are the ones that help in cancer as well. They're the least amount of white blood cells in our systems, and they are always circulating in the blood system. And the moment you get a cut or anything strange that happens, damage or anything that happens to your body, they secrete histamine and lots of other chemicals, and that causes your blood vessels to widen, and your lymphocytes and your monocytes and your and all your other your neutrophils passes through your blood vessels and go into your tissue or into the organ that has been affected, and then they can start their jobs there. So they don't really fight. They more help the other guys fight. So let's go to the tough guys. Now, if you have your normal policemen, so we have our crimes and our normal policemen, like our basophils, our neutrophils, and those guys go, they see there's a crime scene, they track the robber or whatever, and they find it. Now, how do our white blood cells find what's going on? Any of our white blood cells, the moment a virus enters, that virus, like all of us, has to eat. So it starts feeding on your body, and that virus replicates, and all kinds of things happens to it. So it does leave little trace elements of itself that it's there. And as it replicates, we call those things that they leave behind cytokines. Now, these cytokines end up in your blood cells, in your blood, and all these little white blood cells circulate everywhere and go everywhere. And if they start picking up one of these small little cytokines or chemokines that is secreted by the virus, or by our cancer does that as well, then they say, start sniffing. And they go, okay, let's follow this. I see a little something weird, let's follow it. And as they move closer to wherever the virus is or wherever the cancer is, the more and more and more of these cytokines are there. So they basically follow the stream of cytokines or chemokines until they reach where either the virus is, the infection in your body is, a bunch of dead cells that they have to get rid of, whatever is going to put our bodies at risk. So that's why I say they're more like police officers really than they are army. So now we get to the special guys. You know, you get your ordinary police officers, and then you get your murder and robbery, or those guys. And your lymphocytes, your B cells and your T cells are those guys. Your B cells basically attacks all invaders outside of cells. So they create antibodies, and the antibodies go and they kill. So they're basically more primed for viruses. Our T cells attacks a cell that's infected, or a normal body cell that doesn't look right. And this is the guys that fight our cancer. So in a healthy person who doesn't have cancer, the moment that person's body cells start replicating and start being strange and malformed and mutationed, these guys go, they attack them and they kill them before they become cancerous. But some of our immune systems don't recognize them. And there's a lot of reasons why not. So this is a very, very horrible slide, actually, but it shows how it works. You have your sugar up here. And of course, remember I said recruits chemokines, cytokines, antigens, things that they can see. Now, your lymphocytes does not circulate in your blood system all the time. A little bit of them do, but most of them don't. Most of them pass their time in your lymph nodes. So now how do you get them to know to go to our cancer and destroy the cancer or the tumor? What happens is we have a different kind of cell called a dendritic cell. And these little guys are our little bobbies. They patrol trying to find whatever our other white blood cells misses, the smaller white blood cell misses. The moment they see something, they do exactly what your little neutrophils do. They engulf it inside of them, and they run like hell to the first lymph node they find, where your B cells and your T cells are leisurely sitting around in their little offices, can you say. When they're there, they go to every one of these guys. Remember now, these are your special forces people, almost, I can say. Each one of them are trained to destroy something different. Some of them have to destroy dead tissue that's getting too much. Some of them have to destroy a certain virus. So they have to take this and say, can you destroy this? Can you destroy this? Where is the guy who can destroy this? Until they find the right T cell that knows how to destroy this specific tumor. Once they did that, they're done with their job. That resting T cell links onto it and says, it's me, I can do this. And it sniffs out and looks at all the evidence, what the dendritic cell brings them. it activates itself and it starts multiplying itself. It gets a bunch of buddies together to go and help. These bunch of buddies then run to the tumor as fast as they can. They secrete perforin and granzyme. They lock onto the tumor cell, and they put all of these things inside the tumor cells, which destroys the tumor cells from the inside out. So that's more or less how a normal system works. But now, in all of you guys, that doesn't always happen. So why doesn't that happen? It is because our tumor cells are absolute super spies. They have better little black boxes than James Bond himself. They can either resist being killed by a T cell, or they produce less antigens so the dendritic cell never sees them. And your T cell basically looks like this. On the one side, we have all the little receptors that says, look, we have now killed the cancer. Let's stop replicating. Let's stop making more of ourselves. We don't need more. We need to now stop. Otherwise, we're going to start killing healthy cells. On the other side, we have the activating receptors that tells your T cell, there's still a lot of tumor here. We have to keep going. We have to make more and more and more of ourselves. But some of our tumor cells, because some of the tumor cells have less antigens, the T cell thinks, oh, there's not a lot of antigens, which means I killed this thing. Okay, so let's put these off, and I put all of these on. And then your cancer grows. And some of the other some other cancers or some other cells mutate, and then no matter what your T cell does, it just can't kill it. Nothing works. And then, of course, we need a little bit of chemo or immune therapy or whatever to help it do that. Are you guys still okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I feel alone.
Oh, sorry, I just muted everyone while so if anyone has any questions, then just pop your hand up, put a message in the chat, or unmute yourself and shout. I've just muted everyone while you're chatting, because the background was a little bit noisy, and it helps with the connection, because there's a little bit of connection now and then.
Okay.
It glitches, so muting the background does help a bit. But if anyone has some questions, then please put it in the chat or lift your hand up, or just unmute yourself. Okay, great, thank you. You can carry on.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so now there's this novel new thing that everyone says. You walk into a store and there's literally a whole aisle of immune boosting tablets and all kinds of stuff. And especially people with cancer really wants to look at this because, I mean, you now know your immune system is not working properly. And that's the basic reason why this cancer just keeps on growing. So there's hundreds of tablets, and there's this great new thing where you can go for IV immune booster at certain health, I don't know what they call it, health facilities or things. But there's a big controversial issue around this, because you cannot boost your immune system. Because I showed you all these little policemen fighting there. And your neutrophils, for instance, is the most abundant of them all. Your basophils, like I said, is the least of all, because all they need to do is just enlarge your veins so that the other guys can get through and get to the viruses and the infection. And then the other guys are a little more or a little less, and your lymphocytes doesn't circulate that much. They're more in your lymph gland waiting for something serious to happen. So boosting an immune system is not easy. What do you boost and to what level and how many do you want? So if you can understand that, there's no way you can really boost it. And as I said here, do you really want to boost your immune system? Because remember, I showed you the on and the off switches on your T cell. If those on switches stay on, your immune system is going to start attacking your healthy body cells. And you're going to ultimately die, get an autoimmune disease like we spoke of earlier, because that's basically what causes an autoimmune disease. Your own immune system, your white cells, are attacking your own body, and it doesn't stop because the off switches doesn't work. So do you really want to boost your immune system and cause that? Because strong immune systems are killers in the end. So what we want is we want a balanced immune system. And unfortunately, we are not clever enough yet to know how to do it. Because we all know, a lot of studies were done with, for instance, identical twins that were separated at birth. And they did realize that the twin who was in a home that could provide better food, there were less stress, it was a more balanced home that the twin grew up in, is more healthy and less prone to illness and disease than the twin that wasn't. But other things also causes that, like what type of diseases were you in contact with in your life? Because if I don't know if you guys remember when Christopher Columbus went to America and he landed there, all the Native Americans started dying from syphilis because their immune system have never encountered this. Whereas the Europeans got very sick and died years and years from the moment that they first got it. The poor, because they grew up in an environment where syphilis was normal, the poor Native Americans all died off within months because they didn't have any kind of immune response against this. So what you encounter during growing up is also another thing. And also the kind of viruses your mother encountered, because in the beginning of your life, you have no immune system and your mother gives her little antibodies to you. And her little T cells that are trained already to kill diseases. So it also depends entirely on the environment, how our immune systems work, not just eat healthy, exercise, sleep, avoid stress, don't smoke. Those things are normal to keep your body healthy. And we advocate that because a healthy body should lead to a healthy immune system. But how to keep that immune system healthy without the normal way of doing things, we're no one sure how to do that. And we can definitely say immune boosting tablets, smoothies, IV drips, those things, they do not work because we do not know how to boost an immune system, and we do not want to be boosted overly as well. So it's a very controversial thing. The only thing we always tell our patients is just do the normal things that keep a healthy body and leave your immune system to do its own thing, because your immune system knows very well how much of every one of those little white blood cells it should have and how to attack everything. And this is also the reason why COVID is such a big problem to us, because we've never encountered that virus before. So it is killing us off. But our children growing up with COVID now, and their children should have a much better immune response to COVID than we will. It will probably end up being just like a regular flu to future generations. While to us, it's absolutely deadly because our T cell lymphocytes and our B cell lymphocytes have no clue how to fight it. They're still in training. Then everyone who is actively on chemo always wants to know, should I get the COVID vaccine? Should I get the flu vaccine? What will it do to me? Let's first have a look and have a little bit of background on how does a vaccine actually work. Now, we now know how our entire immune system works. But so all through our life, our bodies activate white blood cells and antibodies to fight specific viruses. And most of the time, we don't even know. And we always say, ooh, I have a sniffy nose and I have a fever and this and that. That's a sign I have some kind of virus, or I have a bacteria, or I have the flu or something. That is not a sign that you have a flu or a virus or something. That's a sign that your immune system is fighting, because that is the side effects of your immune system fighting something. So what then happens is it fights it. We have the sniffles, we have a bit of flu, we have to lie down a few days. And the moment the immune system switches off, then we don't have the sniffles anymore. We don't have a fever anymore, because our white blood cells and our little fighters have now decided, okay, we're not making more of ourselves. We're not fighting anymore. We're going back and we're resting and we're waiting for the next thing to happen. But remember what I said? When your T cell has been given that little evidence by the dendritic cell, it now is trained to go and make or kill that specific little thing that the dendritic cell gave it. So now I get COVID. The dendritic cell runs, it gives a brand new white blood, it goes and asks all the white blood cells, have you had this COVID? Have you seen this thing? This thing's in the body, we need to kill it. And then all of them go, no, that's not my job. No. So he doesn't find one. Then he goes to a brand new T cell that was just created by your bone marrow. And it says, look, no one can fight this. You have to now train yourself to fight this. So a new T cell is being trained by your body to fight COVID, because we've never seen this ever before. Now it goes and it fights. I get COVID in the first wave and it fights it. Lucky for me, I get through it and it's there. Now we all know you can get it again. We all know a few people who's had it again after 2 or 3 months, when because of that off switch that happens, the white blood cells become less and less and less that circulates. Your antibodies that fight it becomes less and less and less. There's just a few trace ones that's left, just to patrol and to see that should it come again, we need to go find those guys that's lying there in the in your lymph glands. So now with the second time, it comes, then that dendritic cell runs, shows it to the B cell, because it's a virus, it will be a B cell, shows it to the B cell, says to him, look, here it is. The B cell goes, tackles the COVID, and this time you are less sick than you were the first time. Why is it? Because the B cell doesn't need training from scratch. It immediately starts making more of itself. It doesn't need to train itself before it makes more of itself. And in a shorter period of time and in a faster reaction, it gets rid of COVID the second time. So this is what the COVID vaccine is trying to do. We're trying to give you a dead virus to cause a smaller reaction so that you don't get really sick. When I got my vaccine, I was down for 2 days, which made me very happy because I knew, oh, great. There's B cells being trained to fight this COVID. So we're trying to give you that so that you're less sick, so that next time when you get the real macaw who's already trained and it can run and it can fight this virus. So these are the types of vaccines you get. You get live vaccines, which are really, really dangerous. I think you can just think of that for yourself. Because the moment a live virus goes into your body, that virus starts replicating and making more of itself. And that's what makes it really dangerous, because your poor immune system still has to train itself to kill COVID. So if we give you a live COVID vaccine, we can cause some problems. So you will never get with a very, very dangerous pathogen or virus that we give you a live vaccine. It is the most effective vaccine. It makes you very, very sick, but because it replicates and there's more for your immune system to see and to attack. But and the reaction you have against this remains in your bloodstream for a long time. But we prefer in modern day times not to give you this. This is the way they eradicated smallpox, by giving you a live cowpox virus. But it still made people really ill. And in modern day times, we prefer not to do that, even though your immune system's reaction will remain for years and years and years, and those little white blood cells and antibodies will remain for years and years. It's very dangerous. What we prefer to give is to give you a dead COVID virus or a dead virus or a dead pathogen, because they don't replicate, but they're still seen by your immune system. Because firstly, there's something dead that has to be removed. Anything in your body that's dead, your white blood cells have to remove. Even your dead body cells, it's their job to remove it, because they have. What happens if you pile up the garbage in your home all the time? We've all seen hoarders' homes. It's not a good idea. Your body becomes like that. So they remove dead tissue, they remove dead cells, they remove anything in your body that dies. So the fact that there's a dead thing there will already make them come. And then it's still something that can cause disease. So they will start fighting this. It is less effective, but it's safer. And it doesn't stay in your body for years and years, the antibodies, but you have your lymphocyte that can be reactivated and just go fight it. So this is a nice thing. The subunit vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, the one that I got, because all the healthcare workers had to go and get that one, was a subunit vaccine. They used little bits of parts of COVID and little bits of parts of the ordinary flu influenza virus, put it all together in a lab, made them both inactive so that they don't cause any serious side effects, and then they give it to you. And that's why you need a booster 4 to 6 weeks later, because it's not as effective as just a dead virus in itself. But this antibody response lasts for a very short time, hence you need the booster. The moment you get the booster, then it'll stay in your blood for a bit longer period, which is usually about 3 to 4 months. But still, you have now activated your little lymphocytes so that whenever the COVID enters, it can attack it faster, shorter period. And that's why they give you a guarantee. You will get COVID. Your chances after a vaccine of getting COVID, again, will not die from it, or you should not die from it, because your immune system will recognize it. Your T cells already trained, they immediately replicate, short period of time, kill it, get it over with. And you'll be less sick, and you might not need to go to ICU. So what do we tell our patients on chemo? I work for Professor Rappaport at the Medical Oncology Center of Rosebank, and he tells all our patients, the benefit outweighs the risk. Cancer is a slower killer in most of us. Just tell your doctor, look, I'm going for the vaccine next week. And if you're on active treatment, the best time is a week after you got your chemo or your immunotherapy. Because remember what chemo does. You get it today, and the reaction builds up in your body. And you're very, very sick for about a week or so. And then you slowly start feeling better until we make you sick again. So the moment you start feeling better is the best time to go and have your vaccine. So we told each and every one of our patients, go for the vaccination the moment you have been a week from you started your chemo. Your vaccination then substitutes your primary infection. It gives us a safer form of the virus, as I said. It will activate your memory lymphocytes and your antibodies that offer future protection when we encounter the real virus in all its dangerous glory. And it will give very light or no symptoms. I had light symptoms. I was sick for 2 days, and the last day I was very fatigued, the third day. Some of my colleagues never was even sick, never had one symptom. So in a nutshell, your immune system is a very complex army fighting all invaders and normal behaving body cells. It keeps your body healthy, it keeps it safe. Boosting it is not a good idea, and in any case, impossible to do with tablets, shakes, smoothies, and boosters we find in stores. And a vaccine is always a good idea. And that's my story. So now you guys can hit me with whatever you want to ask.
Thank you very, very much for that. I think can we stop sharing the presentation just so
Stop sharing here.
Just so there we go. We can see everybody's faces again. Great. Thank you so much for that. That was really, really interesting and such a nice way to explain the immune system and how it works. We had a few comments in our chat while you were talking. Excellent way of explaining. Lou talking about her RA, Heidi, healthy nervous system, and then Lou chatting about she had the Johnson & Johnson's vaccine in March, mild COVID, and got through it quite easily. Amanda says that was awesome. Nazira, thank you very much, very informative. So who has questions? Who has questions, comments? Heidi, thank you so much. With the Johnson & Johnson's, do we have a booster?
No, we don't.
We don't have a booster. Do we need one?
We don't need a booster for it. No, not for the Johnson & Johnson, because the Johnson & Johnson has, though it is a little bit of each, there's less dead influenza virus than there is the COVID virus. If they were half, then you'd need a booster, but you don't need one because there's more COVID in the Johnson & Johnson than there is the influenza virus, and so you don't need a booster for that one. But the Pfizer, the AstraZeneca, all those guys, unfortunately, there's half of each, so you're going to have to get that booster.
Okay.
Liezl, can I ask you, please? I take your point about there's no merit in taking immune boosters, etc. But what about the role of taking zinc and vitamin D during this period?
Anything that you would take to prevent normal flu, just to have a healthy body, go for it, do it. That's what we say. We can't boost the immune system, but you can boost your body. And a healthy body, it's just my personal opinion, will take care of its own healthy immune system. Or don't you agree? If your body's healthy, I think because your body regulates its own immune system, it will do it better. So the thing is we want to do is just keep your body healthy, And hopefully your body will keep your immune system in prime condition.
Well, the drugs that I'm taking for my autoimmune condition are called immune suppressants. So I suppose that's a different concept to what you've been talking about.
Yeah, you're a different case from what I'm talking about. The drugs you take are the off switches. It puts all those off switches on.
Yes.
It puts all the off switches on and the on switches off, because your immune system is killing you.
So my rheumatologist, her advice, when I had the vaccine, is to just suspend a couple of drugs over the period that I had the jab, which I did. Yeah.
No.
Anyway, cheers. I'm having a lovely warm cup of coffee.
I think mine's cold now.
Just a comment, Judith, I've got RA as well, and I do some of the hectic biologicals like Mapsera, etc. And my rheumatologist commented that I probably, because of the cytokine storms in our body, we have some form of, not protection, but our bodies are used to the cytokine storms. So if we do get COVID, it will probably be milder than most people.
Yes, that's what I've heard too,
Yeah.
Louise. Yeah.
That's true.
So I've had J&J in March. I had the pneumococcal, when did I have that? Probably February. I usually do the flu vaccine every year because she insists I do it. And when I had COVID now, the worst of being sick was not being sick, but stuck in my cave for 10 days because of infecting the other people in the house, obviously.
Yeah.
And I felt far worse in March when I had the flu than when I had COVID now. So there must be some form of immune system fighting because we have RA. I don't know what you think, Liezl.
Yes, I agree with you. Because remember, there's, as I told you, there's all these different white blood cells. So even if the lymphocytes don't attack, these other guys will come and try their utmost best. So something will fight. Our immune systems will never, ever just leave us out on a limb. There will always be one of these cells or two of these cells that will go and help fight. And the other thing is, it's true what you say about the cytokine storm, because the cytokine storm could kill me, for instance, because my body is not used to it. So when there's a terrible cytokine storm in me, that on switches will go on, will light up everywhere. And everything that's a lymphocyte will run there and thinking this is a huge battle that's ahead of us. And my lymphocytes will keep on killing and might kill me. Where you guys, that won't happen, because for your immune system, that's a normal. So your balance in your immune system regarding a cytokine storm will be better than in me that doesn't have an autoimmune disease.
But one of the oncologists also commented that because we've had cancer and we've had chemotherapy, the trauma to the body of the cytokine storms for us is, when I say lower, doesn't mean it's lower, it's just we cope with it better because our body's been through, our immune system's been through that trauma before.
Yes, it is. And remember what chemo also does is it kills off cells, which also causes a huge cytokine storm, because it not only kills most your normal cell, your tumor cells, it kills some of your normal cells as well. So already your immune system is working so hard to get all the dead debris away, and that causes a lot of cytokines as well. So I agree. I think you're right that cancer patients and patients in remission, patients with autoimmune diseases, you are at high risk, but I think your bodies and your immune systems, your balance in your immune system is more targeted for that. than us, whose immune systems really do anything than remove dead cells.
Well, the thought just came to my mind that we have a sugar coating, emphasis on coating to our systems because of the drugs we on, etc. And the inflammation that our bodies have been used to.
Now, this is exactly what I'm trying to say. We want to boost our immune systems, but look at yours. Yours is specifically doing what's right for your body. And mine is doing specifically what's right for a so-called healthy body. But if we go and we just get something off the counter that can, God help us, one day boost this, do we really want that? Because won't we disturb that perfect balance that each of our immune systems is trained for our own body and our own needs? I don't know. I think each of us must just keep our bodies as healthy as we can. Let it take care of its own immune system.
Great, great. Yeah, thank you, thank you. Amanda, yes.
Sorry, I just had to unmute. Thank you, Liezl. That was absolutely amazing. It was, and thank you for explaining it in the terms that I understand. And it was really nice. And thank you very much for the information on not to take immune boosters. We tend to take them. So thank you for that. What would happen now with COVID and other viruses if some of us have had the vaccine and people don't have the vaccine? Does the virus mutate in different ways? Is that why we're getting all these different spin-offs of what the virus is, or how does that come about?
That's the seriousness of COVID. Remember, we all forget COVID is an influenza virus. It's family of the flu virus. And we all know what happened to the flu virus. Every year, there was a different flu virus. So we suspect this Delta is this year's COVID virus. So every year we suspect there might be a different mutation of the COVID virus because it is a flu virus. We're not sure of it, but look, last year's COVID is not the Delta we have this year. And it all falls in line with the fact that it is an influenza virus, and we think it's the flu that's going to stay now. So there is that danger. So if you don't get the vaccine, you are at a high risk of it. But eventually, what can happen is, I think you've all heard of the herd immunity thing that has been running around. The more of us who gets the virus, so the more of us who gets vaccinated, the more we protect those who are stubborn and say, I'm not, the anti-vaccine community that says, no, I'm not taking this, because it also makes their chances of getting it less. So unfortunately, the responsible ones are going to have to look after the other guys who doesn't want to vaccinate, so that we can build up that herd immunity. And the problem is we have between 80 and 90% of us have to get COVID, or at least a vaccine, for us to have a herd immunity. That's going to take some time. So yeah.
Great, yeah.
How does herd immunity work?
It basically means that the community we live in, or the people around us, are less prone to get the virus. It doesn't mean we're not going to get it. It means more of us will not get it, or will not be carriers. And if you're not a carrier, a guy who's not been vaccinated will not get it from you. He will get it from someone who's a carrier. So more and more of us will not be carrying an active virus that we can give to the next person. So that's how herd immunity works. If more of us don't get the virus, or it's killed before it can replicate inside of us, we can't give it to the next person. And that's how herd immunity works. So herd immunity is basically those who's had it can't really get it, shouldn't get it again, because we have the antibodies and it's killed the moment it enters before it can replicate too much. So we can't give it to the next person. But that's why they say about 80 or 90% of us have to get it before we reach herd immunity. And that's the sad part. If people don't start vaccinating, it's going to take longer for us to get there, and more of us will die.
Yeah, Amanda, sure. Yeah, unmute.
Yes. I know. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Liezl, I know that the young children aren't being as affected, or in the beginning they weren't being as affected as adults were. But now I see it is getting to a stage where the youngsters are starting to get affected. I know you said that later on through the generations and the younger people won't get it, obviously, because the rest of us would have been vaccinated, mothers would have been vaccinated, and it helps to build up the immunity in youngsters. How come young people never got it, or they weren't as prone to the virus as when you're older?
Okay, as you grow older, your body creates less and less T cells and less B cells. So when that poor dendritic cell comes, most of these guys go, oh no, I've already got a job. And there's very few new ones that say, oh, let me try killing this thing. And then when it starts replicating, it's old and it doesn't want to replicate that well anymore. So the older we are, unfortunately, our special forces, they're not working anymore. And those that are there are really near retirement, so they don't want to. But, and then the younger guys have millions of those that are just hanging around and waiting for a job. And they are young and they can replicate quick. But now the problem is children under 5 is high risk, like us that are a bit older, because their immune systems are not optimal yet. It's still growing. And they still have a little bit of mommy's immune system that is starting to fade, because when you're born, you have mommy's full immune system. And then about at 1 or 2 years, mommy's immune system starts going away. And you have to start creating your own. And up until 5 years, getting all those little guys trained for all the different things when the dog licks you, when you eat the dog pellets, when you eat the dog poop, all of those things those guys have to still be trained. But between from 5 years and older, you have the greatest immune system. How many times have we said, look at these kids, what they do, and they don't get sick. I do that and I'll get sick. You hear people say that so many times because they have this optimal immune system then. And then when you hit 40,
we've had it. Eh? So that's why
then we start having less.
That's why if the mother has a problem, she'll pass it on to her children, or could possibly be.
Yeah. Okay. If she has an autoimmune disease, it might be passed on to her children. Autoimmune disease is genetic, but her whole makeup of how her immune system works is being passed on to the baby, and he or she has to cope with the antibodies his mom's given him and the T cells his mom's given him. And if she's had a disease, or she smoked, or she wasn't healthy, or whatever, those little immune system stuff isn't very well. So we all know smoking mothers, their babies have pneumonia, they're sick all the time, because the T cells and the B cells and the antibodies you get from mommy is not optimal. They don't work that well. And they have to use that till they're 1 year old and can start making their own. So that's the sad thing.
So much, thank you.
I just have a question then. How would antibiotics work within the immune system and affect the immune system?
Antibiotics is basically a helper. because it does chemically what your white blood cells does. It goes and it kills a virus. That's literally what it does in chemical form. So that's what your antibiotics. It's an antibody. It's in the name, antibody. It's artificial antibodies. That's why, you know, when your doctor doesn't know which antibody has to be given. Who is that? Sorry. When your doctor doesn't know that your antibody, which antibody, which antibiotic he has to give. You remember he sent you for a blood test, and then the blood test comes back and says, okay, this drug will work the best, this drug will work the best, because you have to see which virus it is to have the right antibody to fight it. So then we have the right antibiotic that we can send there. So that's why you need that blood test to say, is it a staphylococcal virus? Is it a this? Is it a what virus? So that we can give the right artificial antibody to fight it.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else with questions? Anyone else with questions about immune systems, vaccines? Yeah, Mandy. Oh, no. I think I muted you again. Sorry. There we go.
I've got lots of questions today, and I find this absolutely fascinating.
It's great. Thank you.
What part does the thyroid play in the body and making of antibodies? Because I've just done a lot of tests, and they've tested my thyroid. I had a heart attack about 2 months ago, and now they've gone and tested my thyroid. So does the thyroid play any part in making of antibodies, or how does the thyroid work?
The thyroid makes your T cells that fight your cancer. That's where they are created. Your bone marrow makes a generic white blood cell. One white blood cell that every white blood cell starts off as that. And then these things go different ways. Some go to your liver, some go to your spleen. Your spleen makes your B cells that fights the viruses, and some goes to your thyroid. And the T cells that fight cancer is made in your thyroid. Your super cytotoxic T cells. They're made in your thyroid. And then once that they're made in the thyroid, they take a little journey and they go rest in your lymph gland until one day that little dendritic cell comes and says, hey, can you fight this?
Sure, that's interesting. Thank you, Mandy. There we
Getting
go.
my full session here. Hey?
Right.
How does lupus work then?
Oh, I'm not an expert on lupus.
Okay. But that just basically destroy the blood cells?
It does, but
okay.
You know, I'm an oncoimmunologist.
Okay, just
So ask me about cancer immunology if I have it. I'm not going to tread on that one. I'm scared of giving you the wrong information. Yeah.
Right.
okay. So, Mandy, basically, lupus, systemic lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's, Crohn's, there's a couple of them, okay? They all fall under the same basket, but they have slightly different side effects in the sense that lupus might attack a certain part of the body, RA attacks all the joints, Sjogren's attacks the eyes, they become dry. So Judith is left now, but so I have RA, but I have little bits of lupus, little bits of Sjogren's, so they all start working together, or they all start manifesting over time because it's the immune system. Okay, so if ever you're going to get diagnosed with the autoimmune, make sure it's RA because that gets covered in full as PMB. Some of the others don't. Okay. And it's difficult sometimes to even, the first set of tests I didn't show up the RA. They had to go do lower or more intense testing. So they all sort of work together, but they are different. But a lot of us who have RA have little bits of the other autoimmunes in it. It's basically your body attacking itself. My body doesn't like my body, so it's attacking itself. How's that for an answer, Liezl?
There we go. Thank you.
Brilliant answer.
Thanks, Liezl Heyman. Thank you.
Cool, great. Thanks, Lou. Thanks for helping in there. Okay, anybody else with some last minute questions? Last questions?
Hi.
Linda.
Good morning. It's Linda speaking. I just want to check. I'm going for radiation or starting my radiation on Monday, and I just wanted to find out about taking collagen. Is that a good thing, or does it really not make a difference? I am taking collagen at the moment, every day. So I just wanted to check if I should carry on, if it's really
Beneficial or not?
Hmm.
Liezl, do you have an answer to that?
I'm more into the chemo side, but I can't think that
Oh,
collagen will be bad for you, because what the radiation does is it's going to literally kill off body cells left and right. So the collagen, I don't think it will be a bad thing to keep on with it. It makes sense just to continue. Chemo is a different thing because it's chemical, and sometimes certain vitamins and certain boosters and stuff we use can affect the effectiveness of chemo because it's chemical stuff. But radiation is straight for killing off tissue. So I don't think the collagen will do anything negative.
Okay, great. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, anyone else for some questions? No last minute questions. Okay, well, what are your thoughts on CBD during chemo?
Oh, this is something that I love, because patients ask this so many times. And the thing is, in the beginning, we didn't really know, just when the CBD oil started coming out and things started being legalized and everything like that. CBD oil depends on which chemotherapy you use or chemotherapy you get. Because it's like vitamins, it boosts the body. Now, remember what we do with chemo. We break your body down so that the cells can die and then new cells that are not cancerous, your body can start creating new cells. So we want to kill this mutated funny cells so that your body can create brand new cells that are not mutated. So what happens if you use over-the-counter vitamins, supplements, CBD oil, which does build up your body? You counteract what the chemo is doing. So be very careful with that. Professor Rappaport asks all his patients, he says it's wonderful for pain, it's wonderful for nausea, but while you're on chemo, rather don't do that, because you might make the effectiveness of your chemo less, because you're building your body up on the one side while we're trying to break it down on the other side. And the reason we're breaking down all these cells is to remove the memory your body has of these mutated cells. Because if your body remembers this is the way the cell looks like, and it's a cancerous cell, it's going to keep on creating cancerous cells. But if we kill them, then your body says, okay, time to make new cells. What did we have before? Oh, I can't see what we had. Oh, here's a cell. It's a healthy one. Let me make more of those. So that's a very controversial thing. And the phase 3 studies have started coming out last year, where they did research on it. And patients who used CBD oil, their cancer's chances of coming back was larger than those who didn't use the CBD oil, unfortunately. So that it has its benefits, but not with chemical chemo.
Okay. Thank you very much. Louise says, especially if you are HER2 positive, don't use CBD. That's what some of the research that we have is that especially HER2 positive patients, things are less effective if you are on CBD. So be super careful of that. Thank you very much for that question, Hilary. This was a really, really informative session. Thank you very much for joining us on this cold Saturday morning, Liezl, and answering all of our questions. Thank you very much. And thank you to all the ladies that joined us. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you all.
everybody.
Bye-bye.